Hello, welcome, and thank you so much for continuing to watch through these sequence of videos. In this video, I'm going to simply discuss a little bit about myself and the wheres, whys, and hows that I became a Qigong instructor and sitting here in front of you right now telling you about a teacher training program. But before I dive into that, I'd really like to get into my main three beliefs around Qigong. The three main beliefs that were really the key factor that made me create QiFit Qigong training. And so the first is, and I'm sure you may have already heard me say it, if not, you're going to hear me say it a lot more, that I believe Qigong needs to become as popular as yoga. Now, not only is this from my own personal experience of understanding how good Qigong is at maintaining my health and my longevity, working with my physical movement quality, working with pain in my body, working with my mental health, maintaining my sleep, my appetite, and all these other factors that go into making Qigong such a powerful, healing mind-body art. But more so, it's actually to do with speaking to people who are probably just like you and understanding that whilst yoga is amazing, and I'm the last person to talk smack about yoga, right? But the fact is that Qigong has so much worth and is in its own right as deep and as broad as yoga. The theory, the practice, the complements, the intricacies, the profound understandings and theories that go in the embodiment art of Qigong is just as deep and is important as yoga. And I really feel that there have been a few limiting factors to really help Qigong become as popular as yoga. And so I've created QiFit training to help people just like you access really high quality Qigong in the hope that we can make Qigong great again and bring Qigong out into the mainstream. And really the mainstream is my second reason. The second belief is that QiFit Qigong needs to come out into the mainstream of society to really help people begin to access it. I'm consistently getting calls off people asking where they can find Qigong, and it's unfortunate that I have to turn so many of them away because there simply aren't any Qigong instructors in their area. After Googling and them searching, we always come up blank. So unfortunately, I can't help people like that. But what I can do is help to create more highly skilled, more highly qualified Qigong instructors who understand the profound depths of Qigong movement and practice and theory to help people like that access Qigong. And I really do foresee a time when Qigong enters the mainstream, and just like yoga, we find Qigong having their own studios on every corner in every suburb across the country, just like yoga did. Because if I mentioned to you maybe 20 years ago that yoga would be on every corner, you would think I was crazy, right? You'd be like, no way is that going to happen. Well, look where we are now. So I predict that Qigong is going to be the same. And now my third reason, which is touching on a little bit of controversy, is that I actually believe Qigong needs to be completely demystified. There are so many Chinese whisper games and master guru worshipping that goes around Qigong and even Tai Chi that it does make it very inaccessible for a lot of Western people. Now, this doesn't mean it needs to be watered down or made easier. What it means is that these traditional theories and the movement practices need to be made more accessible. And that is something that I am super passionate about. So a lot of the time when I'm teaching, I'm integrating Western science, Western exercise science, physiology, and other concepts, quantum physics, whole heap of ideas in with the Chinese medicine, the Taoist philosophy, so that Western minds like yours and mine can really understand exactly what Qigong's doing. And I've found, and as well as got feedback from people who've done my courses, that I seem to be doing just that. And so demystifying Qigong has become a real passion of mine. And I think if you work your way through these videos and you end up coming to one of my courses, you'll understand exactly what I mean about that. So whilst I think the traditional theories are great and carry weight, that they do make Qigong a little bit inaccessible for most people. And so if we want Qigong to become as popular as yoga and we want it to hit the mainstream, we need to stop the Chinese whispers game and the master guru worship and make Qigong accessible. So to make people who teach yoga or Pilates, psychotherapists, acupuncturists, massage therapists, energy healers, Reiki healers, physiotherapists, PTs, chiros, all can access Qigong and begin to teach the amazing health benefits of Qigong within their clinical settings. Because Qigong definitely has a very therapeutic, a very remedial aspect to it that corrects the physical musculoskeletal structure, deletes tension, aligns our mind and body, and reinfuses mind and body back together, as well as teaching us, really essentially, to be embedded back within nature. And that is one of the main problems within our society now, is we live so separate from nature. Between our devices and all our mechanical bits and pieces and our jobs and the stress of modern life, we live very detached from nature. And so Qigong is really one of the only arts that I found that help us to really embed back into nature and drop our human contrivances and learn about being natural. And I guess this is why traditionally Qigong was an extremely shamanic art, especially back in ancient China. When these movement practices came about, they were like, crane style and dragon and bear and all the animal styles, because they were mimicking animals, similar to the way that the indigenous Australians used to dance around fires and hold corroborees and act like kangaroos or act like wombats or possums or snakes to really invoke the qualities of nature around them. Well, this has been happening in Qigong for millennia and really had a deep kind of philosophical aspect within the Taoist religion to embed us back into nature and to help us infuse nature back within our body. And so because of this, I really think it's time now that Qigong steps out of the darkness and into the light to show modern society what a powerful, integrated, holistic art it really is. And so, without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So, I grew up in country Victoria, and essentially by the time I got to probably eight or so years old, I was earning my pocket money massaging my father. He was a marathon runner. And after the rest of my family discovered how well I could dig knots out of my father, I went on to massaging my sister, who was a martial artist, and of course my mum was my mum, so mum gets free massage, right? But I used to actually charge my father and my sister for my work. And so even though I left and moved to Queensland, where I live now here on the Gold Coast, I moved up to become an architect. It wasn't long before I discovered that sitting behind a computer for me wasn't where my life was headed. And I soon ran into someone who had moved to Australia to learn Taiji and Qigong off an Australian master named Earl Montague. Now, Earl was a guy who lived out in Wollongbar in northern New South Wales and had learnt traditional Yang-style Taijiquan off a direct descendant while he was overseas. And Earl brought that art over to Australia, to Wollongbar, and trained it by himself, or with a small group of people anyway, to a really high level. Now, Earl was almost a savior in a lot of aspects for the Taiji art, and what he taught formed the basis of my understanding of internal movement principles, Qigong and Taijiquan, and internal martial arts. And so I started studying under that system when I was roughly about 19 or 20, and continued thereon. And so after a few years of studying this art, I'd gone through a couple of jobs and it came to me needing another job. So I actually went to enroll in massage because I'd done massage when I was younger. And I thought, there's got to be some jobs for a young fella doing massage on the Gold Coast. So I walked in to enroll in massage, and I actually walked out enrolled in acupuncture, and I never looked back. So one of my first acupuncture mentors was deeply involved in classical oriental acupuncture. And so this took me down the rabbit hole of not so much going into TCM or traditional Chinese medicine, but going into classical Chinese medicine, which has a slightly different spin on it. And so from working my way through that for the last 23 years and I've been training Taiji for 27 years, it's brought me out the other side having a really profound, deep connection to the art of Taiji and Chinese medicine. So over that period of, just about, almost 3 decades, weaving in the ideas of Chinese medicine and Taoism and tying them in, as I said, with the Western concepts that allow us to make Qigong and Taijiquan and the internal movement principles involved in these arts really accessible. Now, I believe one of the things that makes me very different from a lot of other Qigong teachers is the fact that I have trained in the internal martial arts. And the internal martial arts are about developing power. Now, that power might be for a martial arts reason, but what happened in traditional China was people learned Tai Chi to heal themselves first and foremost. Then they learnt the martial arts to develop a large amount of power and to learn to transfer that into other people, albeit by martial application. But then the pinnacle of Taiji training and Qigong training is actually the medical aspects of Taiji and Qigong. And the idea there is you've healed yourself, you've learned to develop a large amount of power and how to transfer that into people, and then the pinnacle is refining that and learning how to do that for healing. And so after going through that process over many years and really refining the ins and outs, I really began to find and discover that a lot of Qigong had been watered down and this internal movement concept had actually been lost. So when I look at YouTube and I look at a lot of videos, a lot of the movement that people do, whilst Qigong is fantastic and Qigong is good and it's very relaxing, a lot of the foundational principles about what reintegrates the mind, body, and breath back together have actually been watered down to make it a little bit easier. Now, that's not a bad thing, and I'm not hitting on that at all. But what I'm saying is that if we want Qigong to become as popular as yoga, if we want it to hit the mainstream and we want to demystify it and bring it back to have where the physical and the energy are embodied together, then we need to understand that the internal movement principles of Qigong are deeply rooted with the way that we work and move our body and how this works with our fascial system and becomes a pandiculation movement. Now, pandiculation, I know it's a funny word, right? Pandiculate. But pandiculation is a quality of movement that all animals use. Now, animals use this to relax their body, to program in movement patterns, and to release their bodily tension. And so this is what we use Qigong for, is to actually create an extremely robust body that's built for movement that remains soft and relaxed. This gives us an immense amount of power. Now, the way that we're moving within our Qigong and this pandiculated movement that we do actually creates a situation that grows our body. And by growing our body, I definitely mean in a sense of evolving our body, making our body bigger, stronger, more robust, actually allowing our body to grow into the most complete beast that it possibly can be. And so Qigong these days has become all about light and sensitive and energy. And whilst we can create a different level of intensity from Qigong, from the light and easy Qigong, it can go all the way up to a much stronger practice. And we should definitely incrementally over time be increasing the intensity of our Qigong practice so that we are building stronger bodies. Now, this really depends on where you sit on the spectrum of how hard you want to work. But what this means is not that you need to make it super hard or not that it needs to be super light, but that we can actually grade classes. This means, and what I've designed into my teacher training program and my my certificate programs is showing people how we can make Qigong either really light and really easy, because maybe that's where you are at. And that's how you want to train, and that's where you get involved with Qigong. But maybe you're a really elite yoga person and you really want to put a little bit of effort into your Qigong and make it work, because Qigong literally means Qi work, or working with your Qi. And so you could be anywhere on that spectrum. And so that's one of the things that I am super passionate about, is helping people just like you understand there's a gradient of intensity. Just like if you went to the gym and you started out with very light weights, over a period of time, your training would become more compound, would become more difficult, you would lift more weights, you would become stronger, more powerful, and fitter. Your body would grow and develop. And this is no different to how Qigong works. And so through the process of learning all about that over the last couple of decades, I really want to bring Qigong out into the mainstream and to help people like you get past the master guru worship and to help demystify this so it's extremely accessible, not only for yourself, but for the other people that you may influence, your students, your clients, taking this to retreats, taking this into workshops, taking this into classes, so the people that you touch in your lives get the same amount of amazing benefit from Qigong training that I have in my life. So that's a little bit about me. Guys, thank you so much for listening. If you're interested in the Qigong training programs that I offer, realize that level 1 is just a certificate program. Anyone can come and do level 1 and learn about Qigong and learn to develop their own personalized practice. And that's what level 1 is all about. But level 1 also acts as the entry-level course for level 2, which is the teacher training. So once you finish level 1, you can move into a level 2 and move on to your teacher training so that you can include Qigong in your classes, your events, and your retreats, or with your clients in your wellness-based business or your exercise business, to offer a larger range of people and a larger demographic a whole new range of skills to completely wow them. Okay, and this is something that I can't stress enough. The amount of people that have gone through my Qigong teacher training program and have gone out into their own classes or workshops or retreats and are starting to convert people to Qigong. It is absolutely phenomenal. So trust me when I tell you that now is the time to get involved in Qigong. Get in early, get in now, and start offering it. Begin learning and developing your skills. Now, Qigong, remember, is as deep as yoga, if not deeper. There is thousands of years of history there, thousands of years of movement qualities to investigate, thousands of years of theories to embed within your physical body and discover. So if that's something that interests you and you'd love to get involved in Qigong, I would love to have you come and get involved with either my level 1 program or my level 1 and 2 combined teacher training program. I'd love to teach you Qigong. I'd love you to be involved. So guys, I'll leave it here. I will jump out now. Now, the next videos in the series below, I'm going to go into a lot more specific detail about what's involved in level 1 and level 2. So if that interests you, please jump through to the next videos, dive into the information. You'll see there's some downloadable PDFs that you might be able to download beforehand to work your way through as I'm talking, to write in some notes. But guys, thank you so much. My name again is Nicholas Blewett from QiFit Qigong Training. Thank you so much for listening and working your way through these videos. And of course, I really hope you're in good health. Thank you.